It shouldn't be up to the men to go watch women's sports. They aren't interested in the women's sports. And the same thing goes for this. This was a show geared towards women or the LGBTQ community, and nobody came to watch it. Nobody wanted to watch it. It wasn't. Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. Michael, why are we here?
Today we were talking about the fact that Star Wars is back in the news again, and for all the wrong reasons, because the Disney Plus show, The Acolyte, has officially been canceled.
Acolyte from Deadline, The Acolyte canceled. No season 2 for the Disney Plus Star Wars series. The story of The Acolyte will not continue, with Lucasfilm opting not to proceed with a second season of the Star Wars offshoot starring Amandla Stenberg.
Whoop, whoop. There was much rejoicing. The Acolyte had terrible numbers towards the end of the show. I guess the beginning of the show had really great numbers, but then the end of the show had really terrible numbers. And I think us getting on here and talking about this is relevant because we're, old school Star Wars fans. You can check out our video. Episode 19 is about the bait and switch that Star Wars became, where it started out as a boys brand and it has slowly morphed into a girls brand. And not that that's a bad thing, but in the process, it pretty much alienated all the people who were fans of it to begin with. If you're unfamiliar with Star Wars, or you don't care really about Star Wars, the point is that it's the biggest franchise of films of all time. In 2012, Disney bought Star Wars, Lucasfilm, the owner of Star Wars, and it's been downhill ever since. Their movies have precipitously been worse. Their TV shows that they started on a high with The Mandalorian and kind of went downhill from there. You and I, in all full disclosure, did not watch The Acolyte.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
When did you bow out, Michael, of the TV shows? So I don't know how many TV shows they have, but there's been quite a few.
I started Ahsoka.
So you saw the first episode of it?
Of Ahsoka? Yeah. I mean, I want to say I got a few episodes in, but I just had to quit watching it.
Yeah.
I loved Ahsoka. That was the thing.
Character.
I was a huge fan of Ahsoka. I mean, I would say she was one of my top beloved characters. And I just, for whatever reason, it was just, they had to come in and try to strong arm her, I felt like. And they didn't need to do that. They could have just kept her like she was in the Clone Wars and in Rebels, and been able to do this beloved character justice, but they couldn't. And so anyway, that's about where I bowed out and just was kind of like, I'm not going to watch anything more.
Did you watch the entirety of the Obi-Wan show?
I did watch all of Obi-Wan, and that was the same thing. Cause I mean, I was like, maybe this can get better. Maybe this can get better. And they did have a fight scene that I liked with Obi-Wan and Vader, but it still just, I didn't like how it all panned out. And so, and I had high hopes for that. I was huge. I was excited for Obi-Wan.
So you're more of a fan of the prequel series that George Lucas was involved in than I am. I'm an old school fan from the original three. And I always really, really liked the character of Boba Fett. And there was a book, short stories about him and all this kind of stuff. And Shadows of the Empire is mostly about him. It's an entire novel. And so I really was looking forward to the Book of Boba Fett. And the same thing happened. The show is cringy, to say the least, and not good. And I'm just like, I'm done with Star Wars now. So I bowed out well, I finished Boba Fett, I should say. So I never went back for the third season of The Mandalorian. I was really excited because the first two seasons of Mandalorian are good shows. You know, rather than us just getting on here and complaining just about where this went, I just want to kind of read some of the shit that's been going down with the Acolyte. So the Acolyte is a show created and show ran by Leslie Headland, who is notoriously famous for being Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant. Now, if you don't know who Harvey Weinstein is, he is a big time film producer that pretty much was using his power to um, assault women. And he's gone to jail for it, and he's been in litigation for it, and all this kind of stuff. And she was his personal assistant. You know, people say she probably didn't know, but there's a good chance that she was a groomer for him. She was actually finding these women and saying, come up to Harvey's suite up at this, hotel. So anyway, just to kind of get a feel for what's going on here on IMDb, which is a movie website, The Acolyte has got a 4.1 out of 10 stars.
Not good.
Not good. Rotten Tomatoes, this is like the widest chasm between the critics and the actual viewers of the show. The viewers of the show are at 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 78% are the critics. Now, the critics love this show, but they also love this show for all the wrong reasons, because it's very LGBTQ friendly.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely diverse. It's also a dumb show. The shit that's been coming out about this is that it's just horribly ran. It's horribly written. It gets rid of a lot of the lore that was originally in the Star Wars. It's not good. It's just a terrible show. And what's happening here is everybody wants to blame the internet complainers, like the people who come on and talk about how terrible the show is, not
YouTube.
because
Yeah.
YouTubers, a lot of YouTubers, not because of the diversity in it, but because it's actually a bad show. The story's terrible. The acting's wooden. The special effects this is $180 million show that had 8 episodes. So if you do the math, it runs about $22 million for each episode. That's a small independent film.
Yeah.
For 40 to 30 minute episodes. So that's messed up. It's not the money wasn't being put into the show. It feels like the money's being put in people's pockets, right? Leslie Headland hired her wife to play in it. I'm assuming she's got tons of friends who were hired to play on it, or to work behind the scenes.
The nepotism is strong with this one.
Yes, the nepotism is strong with this one. And Michael and I have more or less avoided talking about this because we hadn't seen the show, but this made news, and there's a lot of people who are upset about it. There's people who are upset about it are the people that this show was for, which is, I would say, mostly women and mostly gay people. the people that are original fans, like you and me, who actually watched it, they're rejoicing because they're like, this was crap. This was shit. We should have had something better for this universe. And that's understandable. This might be the last time we actually talk about Star Wars unless something good comes out.
Well, aren't they still doing a Ray series? Isn't that still in the works?
That supposedly, but we were supposed to have Rogue Squadron. It was supposed to have come out by now by the director of Wonder Woman, and that's been canceled and shelved or whatever you want to call it. It seems like Kathleen Kennedy came into this with an agenda, and her agenda was, I want to get rid of all the old and I want to bring in new that is for a new audience. And that's the problem, is they're alienating the old audience while trying to bring in the new audience. And maybe the new audience isn't big enough to sustain it. Or
maybe the new audience doesn't bite because it's not intellectual property that they are interested in.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Like maybe this is not what they're into. And so it's hard to force feed somebody when it's not their thing.
Yeah. Well, and I did a quick Google search says that the amount of people that are LGBT, that identify as LGBT in the United States has risen from 1.6 to about 7.1 since 2022. And the thing is that that's a small percentage of, like, it's a fairly big percentage, like, than it used to be, but it's a small percentage of the people in this country. And if only 7.1 identify that way, and maybe half of them watch the show, then you're talking about only, maybe 3.2 people in the United States is watching this show. And for $180 million show, it's just not worth it to Disney to continue doing this when they've thrown away the old fans of this show. Now, it trended a lot on Twitter and stuff like that, but that can be a false flag, right? So it can trend even though nobody's watching it. People are interested to find out what's going on with it because they're like, this is something I used to love as a kid. I'm going to check out why this piece of garbage is so bad. And then that trends online. And so Disney's looking at the trending online and going, oh, whoa, this is a success. The show is amazing. And they're all denying their lying eyes on how good the show is. Like, anybody with any discerning brain cells can look at this, see that it's terrible, and then make judgments based on that. And that's why so many people bowed out after the first two episodes. And I don't have the exact numbers, but it wasn't even heading, by the time it ended its run, its eight episode run, it wasn't even heading the Nelson ratings. The Nelson ratings are like the top 10 shows. It wasn't even hitting those. So, like, I believe the top one was House of the Dragon, and then it was The Boys, and then there's a bunch of them, and it didn't even hit the top 10. It wasn't even rating at all by the time it ended.
Well, top 10 would be really good, right? Like, that would be kind of
it's pinnacle. A lot of numbers. Yeah.
But I don't know. I saw a comment once, and this was on Wolverine Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy just said, I predict Kevin Feige will not learn anything from this.
Yes.
And it makes me wonder, even though they're bagging the Acolyte, it really does make me wonder if there is no lesson that will be learned from this.
Well, because they're kind of stuck in their ideologies, right? They're sitting there going, we need to have all this representation. We need to push this agenda. And we're looking, and the people that are involved in it say this is a good thing. And then when money isn't flowing through, so basically the audience that this was meant for never showed up to watch it. It's the old Bill Burr routine. He's like, people don't watch the WNBA because women don't watch sports on a general level. Now, there are some women out there who do. Okay. So we're not saying that there's not, but enough to get the WNBA's numbers up.
Yeah.
Women who watch it. It shouldn't be up to the men to go watch women's sports. They aren't interested.
Nobody in the WNBA got COVID. Nobody. They have been playing in front of 300 to 400 people a night for a quarter of a century. Not to mention, it's a male-subsidized league. We gave you a fucking league. None of you showed up. Where are all the feminists? None of you went to the fucking games. None of you. You failed them. Not me. Not men. Women failed the WNBA. No. And then in the end, you come back and you fucking yell at guys. And it's like, all right, so let me get this straight. I have to buy you a drink, stop the axe murderer from coming through the fucking window, and I have to watch WNBA games for you? When are you gonna pick up your end of the couch?
The reason the WNBA doesn't have high numbers is because women aren't going to watch it. And the same thing goes for this. This was a show geared towards women or the LGBTQ community, and nobody came to watch it. Nobody wanted to watch it. It wasn't for that. It wasn't they're not interested in it. It's the same. Okay, so I have an analogy here. The Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen adapted film. It came out in 2005 and it was a hit, right? And the numbers had a $28 million budget and it made $120.6 million at the worldwide box office. So that would be considered a hit.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of women really like Jane Austen stuff. So it's geared towards women who like Jane Austen. Now, I don't mind Jane Austen. I've seen a few of them. They're okay. I've never read the books. The point is, so about 11 years later in 2016, there's a movie called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies that comes out. Now, it's like a mashup. It has zombies in this world, in this Regency era world. Now, I know a lot of women who loved that movie, who thought it was great. It was a lot of fun. There's action in it, that sort of thing. This movie was a flop. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies grossed $16 million against a $28 million budget. Now, that's a flop.
Yeah.
By all standards.
Yeah.
It came out in 2016. It was not highly regarded. It was an attempt to kind of get a new audience into Pride and Prejudice and Jane Austen in general. It didn't work, and neither did the Acolyte. So the point is that they weren't trying to appease the fans that were already there. They were trying to bring in new fans, and in the process, they alienated the old fans. So nobody watched the show. Everybody was fed up with it, and from all accounts, the show's terrible. And it's okay to say that it's not good. The people who are saying that it's not good are being branded as racists or bigots or homophobes. They're just saying it's not good. And when the message becomes more important than the storytelling or the special effects or the acting, it's obvious. It shows. And that's where it is. And that's why it's getting canceled.
Yeah. I don't know that they learn anything from this though. If you're bought and sold, I mean, on the cult that you're in, the cult of the
DEI.
ideology, a DEI, the ideology, then you can push blame on white heterosexual conservative, whatever, push the blame on something else and then move on and do it again.
Yeah.
And they might just do it again. I don't think that this gets, I think it will start to get better, but I think they'll have another. They will probably do another series that will probably suck.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
they'll
they,
probably do another film, some other films that will probably suck.
well, if you look at, like, I was looking at a chart from The Mandalorian to this one, and the audience is just going down, 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 down. I think the one exception is Andor. Andor, I think they've
It didn't
actually,
start out well, but then it like
it
picked up.
started in,
People
picking up.
started talking about it online, and then
Yeah.
because like I didn't watch it, but I might, just because of what
I've been hearing. Yeah.
I've been hearing about it, that might get back into it and watch it. So
Well, and in the grand scheme of things, this is like not a big issue because it's Star Wars. It's, but even the Star Wars theory, which has been, I think that channel has been, I think that channel's been around for 15 years or 20 years
he
because he
got one of
was,
his videos got demonetized. It kind of turned into an issue.
because he usually was on the side of anybody making Star Wars stuff, and then this time around he's just started tearing apart the Acolyte.
Just,
He was,
I'm done. Not
and
doing this
then
anymore. Yeah.
and then Disney flexed its muscles and somehow got him demonetized through YouTube. And it's kind of a weird situation. I don't know 100% of everything that went on. Even people who are really, really want to like this show do not like this show.
That want to like the new Star Wars stuff coming out.
Yes.
Like there are people that just they want to love what you're making and they
Yes.
want to talk about it. But at some point you can't look at a spade and not call it a spade.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back, we've done lots of stuff about this in the past, but it goes back to the emperor has no clothes, right? They're telling us that this is really good. Everybody's telling us that this is really good, and we can look at it with our own eyes and go, this isn't good. We don't like it. Which is why you and I have bowed out for I haven't watched anything new from Star Wars for over a year. I just watch YouTube videos about how terrible all the shit that's coming out is.
Yep.
So if you're interested, audience, you should check out Film Threat. Those guys are always talking about it, and they're actual legit critics. There's also Critical Drinker and Gary at Nerdrotic and Az at Hill versus Babyface. All those guys have reviewed this show and found it lacking, and they're getting blamed for the cancellation of the show because they reviewed it and said that it was terrible. And it used to be a general consensus of critics, like real legit critics would always shit on movies. Like the Transformers movies always got crap from legitimate critics, and nobody called them racist or bigoted or homophobes or whatever. Nobody called them that. They were just like, oh yeah, these movies aren't that great, but they're entertaining, and so they still made money. And this used to be a thing, 10, 15, 20 years ago. This used to be a thing. And now it's flipped. The audience is watching it going, this is actually terrible. This is legitimately terrible. And the critics, because they're consumed by the ideology, are going, this is good. This is good. You need to come see it because it's important that we have representation.
That we support it. Yeah. Brave New World.
Brave New World.
I don't know that this ends very soon. I think we're in this for a little bit. It might be a negative feedback loop kind of thing going on where they're just like, oh, well, we can keep doing this. We can keep doing this. And then because they probably have, since the Acolyte came out, they probably have several woke Star Wars stuff being made. And now they're canceling it. It's like, well, we might as well just fallacy of sunk costs. We might as well just finish this show that's being made.
I don't know. The rumor is there's a little bit of house cleaning going on, but yeah, if that's true, then they really need to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, and they won't. because she's
She's the one that's gonna head this up and make sure that this happens. Now,
the rumor is that she wants to retire, and she doesn't want to retire on a dud, but that's all
Yep.
she's produced is a bunch of duds. So it's like at what point do you do such a horrible job that you look at this person like if you were to take this to a level like a garbage man, he's just getting garbage all over the place. He's just getting it, like, he's not getting it in the truck. He's not getting it done quickly. It's taking him hours and hours and hours to do something simple. You fire that guy. Why hasn't she been fired? Maybe she's got pictures of Bob Iger with like an animal, having sex with an animal or something like that. I don't know. She's got some blackmail on Bob Iger. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, because in a low level job that doesn't make any money, that level of failure you would be fired for, and she's got a long list of failures. I think,
but we've talked about this, just getting away from a meritocracy. Like, okay, you've had all these failures, time to move on, but we've gotten away from that.
Yeah,
and it's not about the meritocracy, it's about
the ideology.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think we can wrap this up. Check us out on social media, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for The Sword in the Skull. If you're listening to this and not watching it, please go to YouTube and give us a like, share, and subscribe. And in the meantime, keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. See you, brother.
See ya.
Like, when are you going to pick up your end of the couch?